Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Now, historic films made in the spring of 1948 and just released show Eniwetok preparing for heavily guarded and still largely secret tests of new atomic weapons. The test's purpose is to measure atomic effects on thousands of different materials, 30,000 tons of them, not, as at Bikini, to prove military effectiveness.
San Francisco police say that 9 persons have been arrested in a narcotics raid on the headquarters of the Grateful Dead, a widely popular singing group. 2 members of the group, Rod McKernan and Robert Weir, and their business manager, Danny Rifkin, have been booked on suspicion of possessing narcotics.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
Here we got a roll program. Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Well, strange lights are causing a viral buzz on YouTube. Could we have caught extraterrestrial activity on a recent newscast? Brandon Arroyo investigates.
As the newscast ended, the controversy began back on September 26th. What is that light shining in the back of the dark night sky?
With coverage reaching all the way back to 1948, for over 70 years, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Now, Fate Magazine Radio is carrying on that tradition of setting the standard in paranormal talk radio as we report and discuss some of the most mysterious and perplexing phenomena imaginable in this strange world of ours. Now, here is your host of Fate Magazine Radio, Kat Hobson.
Good evening. Welcome to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. We are out of Birmingham, Alabama. I am so glad that you are here because tonight you are in for a fantastic Fate Magazine radio show. I am Kat Hobson. I'm your host. I am so pleased to tell you about our guest tonight, and I am looking forward to this show. I met Carl through UFO, Twitter. Believe it or not, I just became fascinated with the subject. It's always been something that I felt I was interactive with since I was in like the 6th or 7th grade. And when I started going on and looking at things, I was actually looking for quantum physicists because I had questions. So I found Deep Prasad there, and he was interacting with Carl, and then other people, Chase Klotsky, other people that I knew were also interacting. And I thought, well, I found home. This is fantastic. But so we are going to be covering Carl's experiences. He has had anomalous activities happening to him for basically his whole life. He was experiencing paranormal spirits, what he believes were demonic interactions also. And he lived as an adult in an active house but he is also very active with UFO Twitter because he kind of fell down that rabbit hole, I guess, in 2009. We're going to talk about that. And I'm really excited. Before we get started, I just wanted to let y'all know that, I know that the riots and fires and mudslides and everything are still going on today. And if you can just give positive energy towards all of these things, I have spoken with one of my friends who was being evacuated. She said that all of the major fires are contained. So that's a positive. That's a fantastic positive. Let's just keep our thoughts and prayers and intentions flowing towards all of those people who are trying to survive. And with that being said, I am going to introduce you to Carl Anderson. Hey, Carl.
Hi, Kat. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for being here. I went and sought you out, and you were so nice to say yes, because I had, I guess maybe like for 2 years now, maybe a little more, been following people that know a lot more than I do on the current UFO phenomenon, and that would be on the ground, right? That would be the TTSA and the DOD and all these things that are not supposed to be out but appear to be, which makes me think, well, that's just a nice little dribble. So, are they serious, or are they just, distracting the madding crowd, right? So, and you agreed. You agreed to come on. Thank you.
No problem.
Because,
my pleasure.
I love this topic, and I really enjoyed discussing it with you and everyone else too. As I said, there's so many people who know so much more than I do, and you do a very good job of kind of mediating, and even if you don't, I think, really mean to be, you kind of keep everything moving forward when it starts to kind of like get the strands popping out. So
yeah, yep, it's a real polarizing topic, that's for sure.
It really is.
You're dealing with people's perspectives, different perspectives, backgrounds, whatnot, and it can make people, you actually start getting really irate with each other, and when that happens, it's kind of a loss for everybody because it shuts the conversation down.
Mm-hmm.
And I really try. I just about do anything I can to get two sides. They can have polar opposite opinions, but I want them, like if two people go in with a conversation and they have two so different opinions, if they can both walk away without fighting, both will take away something. And when they join into another conversation, they'll bring that to that conversation. But when you get conflict and, well, I'm right, and that's it, like this is how it is. It's not like with UFOs, it's our technology. It's not something alien, or it's alien. It's got to be that. And when you do that, you dismiss everything else. And I think the open mind is the biggest tool you can use in this whole quest.
I would agree with that. And, when we're in that genre, we are dealing with very educated individuals in large part. You also have people who probably aren't aware of times they've been wrong. I mean, there's a lot of, and very well-deserved self-confidence in this group of individuals. So it is hard because there is, to a degree, you can't have achieved the level of education and work history and basic knowledge that these people have and not be fairly confident in your own opinions.
Absolutely. You've got great people, like you mentioned Deep Prasad. Mm-hmm. He's an awesome guy, and he's so intelligent. I mean, I don't even to me, I'm just consider myself a Twitter guy, and he's like, he knows about, quantum computing and things like that, and he's got such a great insight and a fantastic attitude and a
I love
great
the
sense.
attitude. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, and you got the real heavy hitters like Richard Dolan, and he's done so much. These guys are in their own right. I just have so much respect for them. Like they've been out there so long, and they've done so much work. And he's so well spoken. He's has more education than I'll ever know, and I know that. But I think if you look at it, everyone, if we all just listen to each other and be tolerant, everyone has something to contribute to this. It won't be someone's magic formula that figures this phenomenon out. It'll be a conglomeration of so many experiences, and science too. But I think that it's really the attitude that we have to listen to each other and be intolerant, be as tolerant as you can be. There's some people that do go on social media, and they go on there simply to egg on a fight. And
Yes.
As soon as I see that, I don't engage. What I'll do is I'll try and actually get them to calm down a little bit. And sometimes some of the worst ones that come on with their fists swinging, if you kind of just hear them and just a little bit of respect, sometimes they come around, and then they still have something to offer. I really believe that. So it's just keeping an open mind, and I think that's really the key.
Well, it is. And, I've seen those individuals come too, and it's almost like they're scared because they've had an experience and they're seeking answers, or they're angry because this is just a bunch of gobbledygook, and why are you even addressing this seriously? There's not a lot of in between for the reasons that they show up. But either way, they're scared or frustrated. And that does lead to some pretty strong emotions and pretty strong words. And
yeah, exactly.
And I've seen you diffuse those situations. I really admire that.
That's what I think my part more than anything. I'm not really a great historian or anything on the whole subject. I get most of my information from my documentaries I've watched. There's some really, really great ones out there, and listening to really, really good people. And there's so many of them on Twitter. It's not just hitters, but there's so many people on Twitter. That is just, I got on there, and it just, to me, it's, you can really learn a lot about how people are reacting to the phenomenon. We call it the phenomenon. I call it that, but to me, it's the ghosts, it's demons. I think I don't know, but I think they're related. I really do. The more I get down this rabbit hole, the whole thing is related.
I would tend to agree with that. And there seem to be more people coming to this thought process. Why do you feel that they're related?
I think that it's I would say probably in the way that it seems to fleet, being, overt. It doesn't like to be, it likes to hang out in the shadows. There's a commonality right there. It can be, malevolent to some. It can be great to others. And same with UFOs and spirits seem to be the same way. And I think that's where I think that you seem to get, and these things have been spotted around places like, graveyards, and they've got, videos of this orb coming down over the Dome of the Rock, and tried to debunk that so hard.
And that was such a public phenomenon. Exactly. You can't debunk it.
No, but they try so hard, and what happens? People are afraid, and for various reasons. Like if you base your whole existence on the Bible, and I'm not knocking the Bible, I'm not knocking any religion, but if you base your whole worldview on something that's written down, and all of a sudden this thing comes into your world, I would like it. I can see the mindset that would say, you know what, please come along and can somebody just explain this to me, even if it means explaining it away and debunking it. And that video is very, very compelling. And it was shot from several angles as well too. And there's so many like that. And I think that there's a statement there. Why would that thing that came from the sky, obviously it dropped down, hang out in such a religious spot? So is there, there's a spirituality kind of connection there, right?
It would so appear.
Yeah. That's where I draw I get my connection from that. I'm not saying I know that for a fact, but my gut tells me there's something really related between the two. Maybe not exactly the same, but it could have something to do with existence on a different, in a different reality or a different dimension too, a different frequency than we exist on, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Well, that goes in with the varying scientific notions. I was not sure that I was buying into string theory. I actually had a discussion one afternoon with Mark D'Antonio about that. And I felt like, we were actually talking about ghosts. And, he's like, well, I just think that it's interdimensional. I said, really? How so? And he said, well, you've got all these little, strings of, dimensions sitting there, and this just pops out. I said, well, that's a great idea. What about residual hauntings? The things that recur at the exact same time with the exact same behaviors that are not random at all. And so that took a minute. Because he's another...
That's fly in the ointment, isn't it?
Well, and he is fantastic. And, he is... he was funny because he was so sure. Mm-hmm. And he's very supportive. He explains the things to me that I don't, always get. But
he's awesome.
And it's just so much fun to talk to him. But, all of these people are generally the smartest people in the room, wherever they are, right? Until you're at a conference or something, and then they're all there at one time. And that's really a cool thing. But even the best scientific theories have exceptions.
Oh yeah,
like that. I actually didn't get string theory until I watched Interstellar, and I'm sitting there, and it's getting toward the end, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's string theory. I understand it now. So,
that movie, yeah,
wasn't that something?
Yes, the ending broke my heart. I have 3 daughters, and the ending broke my heart because he visits his daughter on the deathbed.
Yes.
That hurt me so I cried in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the thought of that. But yeah, behind the bookcase, and it really speaks of that, doesn't it? It really does.
It will give you pause. It really will.
What's that?
I said it gives you pause.
It does. It does. But talking about Mark D'Antonio, I remember, I didn't like him at first because he always seemed so debunking. Because he's a photo guy. He
is a complete photo guy.
Oh God, he can take them apart and show you what it is. But that's what we need, and real accounts, and over time we'll stand up to the test of that.
Absolutely.
We should never be afraid. And I think part of me was afraid because he was showing sometimes people fake photos or a lens flare or whatnot. But then I heard him talking about something totally different, and it blew me away. And I thought, well, I thought he was totally for debunking, but he's not. He's got a lot of great.
He wants to believe too.
Sure.
And he wants to experience, but he's one of the most fierce people I know, and he came through a situation most people don't survive, and did. And so he is a warrior, and so it's really interesting to see him as he's pondering this, because I had a picture of phenomenon that happens here in a small town in Alabama, where a face continues to appear on a courthouse window. Whether the window is destroyed, when they replace it, it comes back. And I was showing it to him because I had been there filming a documentary a friend of mine was putting together. And so I just had the pictures on my phone. I was showing Mark, and he was like, "Nope, that's not real." I'm like, "It is real. It's happened on every piece of glass that's been replaced there since this man, died in that tower." And he was like, "No, it can't be." Well, I was guilty. I was a little offended. So it was so funny. I was like, "But it's happened for almost a century." Nope. I said, "Well, explain it to me." So he did. And I was like, "Nope, he's right." But he is great at that. You're absolutely right.
But that's another thing too. Like, I'm not saying just him, but a lot of people, and with UFOs, they go in, and that's why I get shut down. They say, "Well, it's not real because it's impossible for it to be real."
Right.
So what they do is, we've been, 70 years of, to do with UFOs, we've been brain trained to shut it down altogether. They've had the government, they put so much effort in, Project Grudge, Project Blue Book, and even J. Allen Hynek said it. They basically got them together, and they said, "Look, we want you to come up with a certain conclusion." So they've trained the populace to basically tune all this out, and we've become, to where we believe that. We believe that it's impossible for something to exist, even in the whole universe. I just saw a picture today of a little wee spot. I don't know what telescope took this shot. But when you turn on your, like an old TV set and it looks like snow?
Yes.
That's what it looks like. And all of those are galaxies. But yet, planet Earth, that great big bucket of sand, is the only grain that's unique. And we just have to check it out. I don't believe that. It's not a bucket. We're talking about every grain of sand on every beach on planet Earth. There is they say a habitable planet, I believe. So I don't think we're alone. We're not that unique. I think we're really trapped. But more the way we're trapped is in our own minds. We refuse to open our minds. We set narrow fences.
Yes.
And we don't think outside of them. We chastise people that come ahead and speak of it even. That's the way society, but it is changing. It is. And I like to see that.
I like that too. And, I am really so impressed with the fact that people are coming out who have been involved in government agencies in different places. And they're speaking. You have Nick Pope, you have Lou Alessandro, you have the former government gentleman from Canada, whose name escapes me. I know you know it.
Oh, Paul Hellyer?
Thank you.
He was a minister. Yeah.
Yes, and I actually got to speak with him, and I was so impressed because he just stood right there and was like, "This is absolutely true."
Yeah. And it's not senility.
Yes.
So old. I don't know if he's still alive even. I think he is.
Well, I just saw
But
him 2 years ago. I hope he is.
I think he is. If he's listening, sorry. I'm glad you're alive.
I just think that I think that it's a very bold thing, even with some of the things that they still will not talk about. Nick says that yes, I'm no longer with the Ministry of Defense, but I am still under the Official Secrets Act, where I can't talk about everything.
No.
And so then you just sit there and go, oh, what aren't you talking about? And then down the rabbit hole you go. So
Exactly. And you have to give them a break. Like Lou Elizondo, he takes so much heat.
He does.
For they say, oh, he's lying, he's this, he's that. He didn't work for the Pentagon. They went back and forth and up and down like a toilet seat with this guy, back, in and out, up and down. And he proved it. And then all of a sudden, someone comes out of the woodwork and says, well, he didn't. And then they got this Susan Go, which is a Pentagon spokeswoman, I believe. She says, oh, well, he didn't. And they finally got to admit it. And they actually publicly admitted it. So they're saying, that's what I tell people, your government is telling you, well, oh, by the way, we'll tell you now because you forced us into a corner to tell you the truth, but all along we actually were lying. Oh, sorry. Right. So if they're lying, they'll lie about anything. And that's not underhanded, I don't believe. I believe in national security. You can't, something that demonstrates technology that's unfathomable, you don't want your adversaries to get that. These guys that sign these NDAs, they're, it's not only threat of losing their pensions and their livelihood and everything else. It's their word. Their word should mean something. It's your bond. If I ever signed an NDA, I would never, ever, ever break it. No. I've told you that I'm going to keep the same on Twitter. I'm going to go back to Twitter. People, they direct message, and all of a sudden, someone takes their direct message and posts it on publicly on Twitter.
Yes.
To me, that's irreprehensible. I just don't understand that kind of thinking. If I tell you, and I've talked to some people, some well-known people that have said some things to me, and I could be at odds with them like all get out, but I would never post a direct message to them, to hurt their credibility, because that's your word. It's your bond. It should mean so much.
Even in the Twitterverse, your word should mean something to you.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. And I've seen that happen too. We all have.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody gets ill with someone else and then boom.
Ooh, I'll show you what you wrote me and about so-and-so. It's like a bunch of school kids in a schoolyard. Do you know what she said about you? Well, I'm going to put you on my side because, and where that gets us? It gets us back to square one. We don't talk. We're angry with each other. And who wins? The secret key. Yeah,
well,
nobody.
Nobody wins in that scenario. I am just so fascinated because my initial part of investigating and experiencing has been in what's considered the paranormal field. Ghosts, spirits. I consider anything not normal to be in the paranormal field. Cryptids and everything. I am just amazed by all the different things that happen to people, and very few people really lend credibility to that. Right?
No, there's a lot of brush off. There is.
Yeah. And so, I do need to let people know that y'all are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. This is Fate Mag Radio. I am Kat Hobson, the voice of fate, if you will. One of my friends gave me that moniker, and I like it, so I use it sometimes. But I am just so surprised that that there's so little actual discussion. Like when you started having your experiences, you were a kid.
Yeah.
You were a fairly young kid. You were
it
doing
goes way
sleepovers,
back.
so you
As
were.
far as I remember, yeah.
But because you said that you got into ufology in 2009 when your daughter had some photos.
Yeah.
So between when you were a little boy and you ran home, was it just spiritual, paranormal from that point until you actually were faced with photos of UFOs?
I was always interested in it because a friend of mine that I will tell you that story. It's more of a kind of it's about a seance. But I would say I was always interested. A friend of mine really got me interested in UFOs, and we used to take, back in, this is quite a while ago, back in the 60s, we'd take tar and we'd make little flying saucers on the lampposts. It's funny because I went back there about, I'd say probably 10 years ago now. I'm 59. And I went back there and that little flying saucer was still on one of the cement lampposts. But there was always the interest. I remember coming out into the street one night and I saw, I think it was 5. They were orange balls. They were quite a ways up, be a few thousand feet anyways. And they went from one side of the horizon to the other with no sound and very, very fast and perfect formation. And I thought to myself, well, what is that? From then, it was, I guess, around the same time period, I used to have we had a cottage, a trailer. And some of the trailers that were in this park were empty. They were abandoned, right?
Right.
So you would go in and play, like kids would do. You'd play spin the bottle, or you'd play card games or whatnot, and you'd have a candle because there was no hydro there. Well, we were in this one cottage one time, and my buddy came bursting in the door, and he said, "There's a flying saucer outside."
Oh my God!
And I said, "What?" And I said, I was right up and out the door, and this lady standing in the middle of the field, and they're kind of, around her. And what had happened was that it wasn't really, I don't think it was a flying saucer. It was a great big red glowing ball that came down above the trees. Now, I never saw this thing, but this lady saw it, and my sister, she'd be about, I don't know, I guess maybe 20 at the time. She saw it. And
wow.
There was a plane or something nearby, and it was kind of playing dogfight with the plane, kind of going near it, stopping abruptly, and then shooting up, and then coming down, and then it took off. So they were all freaked out, and then there was a lot of people that had seen this thing, and they don't just come out of the blue and make that up. So for a few nights after that, we sat outside on lawn chairs, watching every light in the sky we could, and we saw some pretty interesting things, but nothing that you couldn't say, well, that's definitely not a chopper, or So really, I didn't really see anything, but that sparked my interest as well. And my sister once again had an encounter. She was driving on the way to work, and it was kind of foggy out. It was in the morning, and she said there was a kind of a dome-shaped thing in the middle of the highway. So she kind of stopped, or slowed down. Yeah, it was right on the road, sitting on the road. So she looked at it. I said, "Well, what did you do? Did you get out?" She goes, "No." She says, I just thought it was kind of weird. Maybe it was the top off of a silo." But I thought, that's odd.
That's bizarre, but that's a
Just
possibility.
around it, and the way I went, I was like, holy crow.
Well, she just probably didn't want to take a chance, right?
That's right, and the house that I lived in, it was that was in Toronto, the first house. And my dad saw a spirit at the end of his bed that was praying. And but your original thing was how it was quite a while. Like UFOs have been around, but not right directly. I haven't really could say that. Oh my God, I know what that is. I've like back in those days. No, it was more people that I knew. But it always kept me interested. And I knew about the other side, the ghost side, the demonic and the strange happenings that's been more the thing that I've had direct interaction with. But I've always UFOs, that's always been right there. And then what sparked it in 2009 once again was my daughter come to me one time, and it was just after me and my wife had split up, and she said, Dad, I was outside last night and I took some pictures and there was a light in the sky and it was really weird. And I said, oh yeah? And she goes, well, yeah, she took them with, it was an older cell phone, right? So she took these pictures, and I said, so what were they? She goes, well, they kind of were just lights. And so I've just dismissed it as all that's going to be on that phone is little dots in the sky, which are, what does that say, right?
Right.
So never thought much about it. And then about a year or so later, she come up to me. She had gotten a new phone. She says, you want to see those pictures? I think before I get rid of my phone or something. I said, sure. Well, what happened was there was about 7 pictures, and it was, as she snapped the pictures, the thing was moving so fast, it left like a light trail, a zigzag, and at the top of the zigzag, you could see was a dome-shaped, kind of funny-looking little saucer thing. And so I asked her, what was it doing? She said, well, it was going back and forth and up and down, and then it stayed in one spot. And then she took a picture of that. And I said, then what did it do? She said, it just went shoom and took off right out of sight so fast. So I had those pictures. I sent them into the Weather Network here. It was actually the Toronto, Ontario Weather Network. And never heard a reply back. And I would say a little while later, the only one that I really downloaded onto my computer was the still shot, which was really fuzzy. And those other ones just disappeared. They were gone out of my email. Now, I don't know what happened, but the still shot, I blew it up on a desktop computer.
Right.
And that shows a beige-colored pyramidic, it looks like a beige-colored triangle with a kind of a saucer-shaped light ship shooting a beam into it. Weirdest thing. And I've been trying.
That is bizarre.
Yeah, and you know what? This is taken from a little girl, and she's not going to lie. I know she wasn't lying.
Right.
And I've been trying to find that picture, and at least I got one. I know I got one somewhere of that. And that got me really, something clicked. I think it really started to get my interest, and I would say probably around 2015. I woke up one day and it was almost like someone put a chip inside my head and switched the on switch. And it became, sad to say, like an obsession.
Right.
I got to find what this is. And it has not shut off since. It's like there is a purpose to it. I can't tell you what it is, whether it's to wake people up, whether it's to, I don't know what it's about. But I follow it, and that's why I'm on Twitter so much with it, and trying to keep the conversation going. That's so important, and that's why I've been kind of a proponent of TTSA with all the, they've taken a lot of criticism. I get it. People should be skeptical, but they've brought the subject out so much. And there is a lot of people in there that, the whole team is made up of. There's ex-CIA guys in there. There's, physicists. There's Tom DeLonge, like a punk rocker. I didn't even know who the guy was.
Well, I knew who he was, but I was like stunned that he was heading this up when it started. Because I was like, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. And it was interesting.
Yeah, and I found with him at first, I kept seeing the name come up whenever I looked up UFOs, so I figured I'd Google this guy and see what's going on. And then he started talking about, there's big things coming. And then he kind of went radio silent. Mm-hmm. So I remember posting something saying that, this guy's full of malarkey. Like he's, I remember saying that because that's around the time that the WikiLeaks happened, right?
Right.
And I think that's what shut them down, But I watch them, and I've been steadily watching them. And I go by gut, too. My gut says these guys are, even though they're CIA and all that, maybe it's not 100% totally everything's all innocent, but I think they're doing the right thing. And I think, people just have to kind of let them see where they go,
Well, I think part of the controversy with TTSA is that out of nowhere, this sprung. And people who have been working on this for their entire lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously, their entire lifetime.
Yeah.
Were never given access. People who are considered to be leaders in this field were never given access. And the fact that now they're presenting as the threat, not interactive, but a threat.
It's got a lot of people.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, Kat. I really, rightfully so.
Well, we're going to have to take a break. And because we just blew through that first one. And we will be right back. I knew this was going to get me in trouble. It's way too fascinating. But we will be right back after this. Y'all come back too.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the World Wide Web of Weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Magazine Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and I am so enjoying my conversation with Carl Anderson. We are talking UFOs. He has the trifecta of lifetime experiences. So it is so much fun to converse with him. I hope y'all are enjoying it as much as I am. But we were talking about TTSA and about the fact that there are people that have issues with them. And I totally understand that because, as we were saying, there are people like Dolan who has their whole life professionally wrapped up in disclosure, trying to get disclosure, trying to get information. And then you have experiencers who say, no, this is not a militant, experience. These are people who are here to help us. Mm-hmm. They're not taking out our military. They watch them, but then again, there was also a whale migration at that time. Maybe they were there for the whales. I mean, if they had poor intent, I think when that radar locked on and the tic-tac chose to, shoot left instead of, take off left instead of shoot back behind them, I think that was a very fortunate thing because I think that could have gone any way. If you put a radar lock on somebody, they are not going to care for that.
That's right.
And you wouldn't even want to do that in a altercation with Russian or Iranian pilots or anybody else that didn't know what you were doing. So
yeah, exactly.
But it was just kind of like, we're not going to mess with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would have been over a long time ago. That's what
if they were truly.
And I'll give you my take on the threat angle that they've come out with. I think this is just my opinion.
Okay.
But Congress and governments aren't really into what people think they've seen or their beliefs, what they've experienced. But one thing, and you have to admit this in today's society, you go to work and you say that there's a hinge missing off the door, and you let your boss know by email that door is going to fall on someone and hurt them one day. By golly, he's right on it nowadays because of litigation. So I think with TSSA, what they've done is they've come along with this threat angle, and it's prompted people in Congress to say, you know what, I ain't going to be the one that's going to ignore this and then have something disastrous happen with an F-18 or whatever hitting something. I want to say something about it, that there is something in our airspace that is a threat to aviation, but to actually to really say that, well, it's a threat, so let's shoot our nuclear or our powder-based weapons at it. That's like, I don't know, to me that's like cavemen throwing stones at someone with an AK-47. It's just it's such a the technology. I think the technology is there to just probably end the world by whatever this thing is, or they are. So the threat angle, I think, more is for just to wake up government. That's what I think. Like, I think more than anything, because I do believe that even if we don't know it, I think the phenomenon, this is, demonic and all that is all tied in. And I really believe it's schooling us. It's schooling us for development, even as awful as it seems sometimes. If you look at it, even demons, I really don't know when the last time a demon really attacked and hurt a bunch of people, or a bunch of demons got together and did this. It's usually man. Man feeds into this, and then man creates the atrocities. So, and then he says, well, the demons. So I think that whatever it is trying to teach us that we have to start looking at each other and treating each other better, because we can't blame
100%.
Right? We are responsible for our actions. And, and what you were talking about with Richard Dolan there, and I get it. Like, these guys have devoted, they're incredibly intelligent and hard-working people.
And they have stood up to such ridicule.
Oh, yeah. And, there was him, and there's Steve Bassett. They did the disclosure. That's huge. That's
is
so
huge. Linda Moulton Howe. I mean, there's so many people who this has been their life's work because it matters.
Yeah. And to me, yeah, exactly. Like, that's when DeLong come along like that, and you got this punk, thumbing his finger at the world and whatever, and screaming his head off, and all of a sudden he's privy to stuff that they could only imagine. But I think the reason behind that is they weren't looking. They wanted to build a bridge. They know that this is going to come out somehow because of the internet. Yes. So they wanted to get the most painless way of doing it. So what I think it is, and they can disagree with me, but I think a lot of it is control of a narrative.
Well, sure.
You can't just let this stuff out and say, by the way, my uncle was a general, and he, was, back in 1947, and he beat the crap out of someone that said they saw a flying saucer. You can't just, because everyone's going to be like, get your torches and pitchforks, and that you can't do that. You have to present it, and it's as underhanded as it sounds. This kind of information, if they, and obviously it is kind of a drip feed to me. If it's let out without a narrative, you're going to have people, you think the rioting in the streets is bad now, you're really going to have, then they'll be going right after the government. They have to control the narrative. It's the only responsible thing to do.
Well, that's a great thought, but they can only control the narrative so long as there is not a mass global sighting.
That's like, look what happened in Phoenix. There you go.
Yeah.
That's always a possibility, eh? Do you ever think that there's some kind of a communication between, governments and the actual beings or whatever?
I do. I'm convinced of it, because the whole thing is just too much. There've been so many discussions of government, not full government, okay, but government players involved in interaction from Churchill's period currently. I mean, we have two ex-presidents who had UFO experiences. Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter. So, it's just, Shelley in chat says that she thinks the government communicates with them. So, otherwise, we would have already been trying to do something. I mean, they went and shut down nuclear weapons.
We know that. Yeah, absolutely.
They literally did that. So, any government that was not communicating with someone who had that capability and had used it would be just worse than what we already think they are. Right? I mean, I mean, that is a serious, dereliction of duty. You would have to find a way to communicate if there were, and obviously they were trying, so they would have made it easy to do. But I do think that there was interaction well before that.
Oh, I do too. I think that it's been going on for quite a while. And that's why I kind of think sometimes, and I ask myself this, have we as a species, been given a mandate. Clean up your act, because if you don't, we will.
Yes.
Kind of a thing.
Yes.
It's the old, that the day the earth stood still scenario. I've heard talk that's actually kind of a little bit of truth to that. So, because in we know that. I mean, if my opinion on it is, if the UFO phenomenon was malevolent and it didn't have our best interest, it would have messed things up so bad before, long before this. For something's been there. I think it's been, I don't know why, but it's been kind of hiding. Maybe it doesn't want to interfere. Maybe it's something that we have to learn ourselves to evolve spiritually, and to be a little bit more compassionate with each other, and look more or less globally on mankind, and not divide us up amongst race and do everything else. And it's I think it should be uniting, and it I kind of think it is in some ways.
Well, I think if people do it correctly, if we were to take this information that we have, we know they're here. Mm-hmm. There's no longer any doubt that something is here. Mm-hmm. Okay? So I think that now you have a globally unifying situation, where you don't have to just automatically build them as negative, but you can just say, let's see what we can find. Let's see if we can find evidence. If you can, contribute evidence, then let's bring you into the discussion. If you cannot, or if you don't believe, we'll provide you with evidence so that you'll know what we're discussing. Boom. Yeah. You've got global attention. You've got global interaction. You've got a global mission to learn and educate yourselves about this. And, you talk to the experiencers, the ones that, are being constantly told, we're here to help you. We want to help you. You're endangering yourselves. Let us help you. Mm-hmm. Versus the ones that are like, well, they just want to destroy us and eat us. Yeah. They want to hunt us because our adrenaline makes us tasty. No, let's not go there.
Nah, I don't believe that.
Well, I don't believe that either.
Just doesn't make sense.
Well, I think that if that were the case, there would be a whole lot more than the people reported missing, and I think that there would be remains.
Yeah.
And they're not.
No, there's a bigger picture, and I think we only know. We can only guess and I guess speculate with our own minds what the overall agenda is with it. But I just don't see the I don't know, this mass attack, or people being like taken up and they pull you all to pieces, and they like you say, the adrenochrome, I believe they call it.
Yes.
Or after that, and it's this is what they're doing, and I just don't no. I don't think the universe works that way. I really don't. I think the universe is a great big. It's a place to learn and evolve as a spirit. It's to evolve as a soul, and I don't believe that. Why? What's the purpose of Like, even getting back to demons and that. So the devil wins, okay? He comes down on earth, and this is what he does. So what are they going to do? They're going to sit there, and they're going to growl and snort at each other all day long, and, oh, we're evil, we're evil. It does not make sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
I think it matters. The only all-encompassing power is love.
I agree. And it traps negative.
Yeah, and it just will win. It already has won, I believe. But we have to realize that as people.
Yes,
that,
and not buy into the hype.
Yeah, and not believe all the... It's fear. There's so much fear being sown these days.
Fear sells.
just brutal. Like,
yeah.
Look what people are going through with the pandemic and everything. And I believe, be wise, wear your mask, wash your hands. I work in long-term care. You right front and center with it. We've been lucky. We've kept it out. But I mean, wear your mask and do your part. But some of the media and that, there's no reason to scare the living daylights out of people.
Oh, it sells. I mean, it's the next best thing to if it bleeds, it leads. But,
yeah.
But, we're at the top of the hour, so we have to take our top of the hour break. And I am having so much fun. I am just enjoying this to no end. I hope you are too.
Me too. It's awesome.
This is a great time to go and, fill up your beverage container, stretch your legs, maybe do a few cartwheels, as Brian Parsons used to say. And we will be back after this. And you know what I always say? It's the news break. I am so constantly hoping for just a little good news, right? Someday, we're going to get that. So we'll be right back. Y'all come back too.
Live from NPR News, I'm Janine Herbst. The second highest ranking Senate Democrat is conceding that there's no path to halting the confirmation of Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the nation's high court. NPR's Barbara Sprunt has more.
Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois told ABC's This Week there is no silver bullet for Democrats to stop Barrett's nomination from advancing.
We could slow it down, perhaps a matter of hours, maybe days at the most, but we can't stop the outcome.
Durbin, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, went on to say he believes Barrett should recuse herself on any case brought before the Supreme Court dealing with the results of the 2020 election. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has the support of Republicans to move forward with the confirmation process. Barbara Sprunt, NPR News.
But protesters are not giving up. Daniela Cheslow of member station WAMU has more from outside the Supreme Court.
A few hundred demonstrators stand at the foot of the Supreme Court. Some are wearing masks that read "Honor Her Wish," and others hold pink signs from Planned Parenthood. They demand the Senate not confirm a new Supreme Court justice ahead of the November election, following the precedent Republican senators set during the Obama administration. The demonstrators say they will return here every day and urge Democratic senators to use any means necessary to block the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. For NPR News, I'm Daniela Cheslow.
A 6-day extension for counting absentee ballots in Wisconsin has been temporarily halted by a federal appeals court. Today's decision by the 7th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals is a momentary victory for Republicans in the key state. It means ballots will now be due by 8 p.m. on Election Day. A lower court judge had sided with Democrats to extend the deadline until November 9th to give them more time to deal with an expected high number of absentee ballots. A power shutoff is underway for 65,000 customers in California's northern and central Sierra region due to extreme fire risk. From member station KQED, Sarah Hosseini has more.
PG&E says it will de-energize certain electrical lines amid strong, gusty winds expected to persist through Monday morning. Officials say power can be restored once workers ensure no lines were damaged. In a recent report to state regulators, the utility revealed that its crews found widespread damage to equipment after its last shutoff earlier this month. They included downed lines, snapped poles, and branches that had blown into wires, all of which it says could have sparked wildfires had they not been turned off. For NPR News, I'm Sarah Hosseini.
In Northern California's wine country, meanwhile, the fast-moving glass fire that broke out this morning has now burned some 1,200 acres, and firefighters say it is 0% contained. Evacuation orders have been issued parts of the Napa Valley. The cause of that blaze is under investigation. This is NPR. French President Emmanuel Macron says Belarus's President Alexander Lukashenko must step down, echoing hundreds of thousands of protesters in Minsk. NPR's Eleanor Beardsley reports.
In an interview with prominent Sunday newspaper Le Journal du Dimanche, Macron called the situation in Belarus a crisis of authoritarian power hanging on by force. The people of Belarus are facing a brutal crackdown from the longtime dictator as they take to the streets every week to protest what they say was a rigged election on August 9th. By calling on Lukashenko to go, Macron is going farther than the European Union, which has said it does not recognize the legitimacy of his election. The EU's hands are tied as it tries to avoid another crisis like in Ukraine. Russia is Lukashenko's biggest financial and diplomatic backer, and President Vladimir Putin has promised Belarus law enforcement backup. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Paris.
Swiss voters have rejected a proposal by a right-wing party to end a major immigration accord with the EU. Lisa Schlein has more.
Switzerland's anti-immigration bill has been likened to Brexit. However, unlike the United Kingdom, the vast majority of Swiss decided they didn't want to get a divorce from the European Union. They fought off a right-wing proposal to scrap a 2-decade-old free movement of people accord with the EU. They accepted the argument that preventing skilled foreigners from working in Switzerland would be bad for the economy.
Lisa Schlein reporting. And I'm Janine Herbst, and you're listening to NPR News.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour. Welcome back for the second hour of Fate Magazine Radio. I am Kat Hobson. I am your host, and I am so glad that you're here. I hope that you got to listen to that first hour because it was amazing. My guest is Carl Anderson. We met each other through Twitter, believe it or not, UFO Twitter. We have had similar experiences. He is someone who I find fascinating. He's kind of like a really terrific, not really a mediator, but he kind of helps people keep focused on the conversation when tempers tend to flare. And there are a lot of really smart, really experienced, knowledgeable people in that group of individuals. And they're pretty much intelligent, I would say. There's some great educations that are being put into play with that. And Carl, you really do a good job of kind of keeping them focused, kind of refereeing maybe.
Yeah, I hate to use the word referee. In fact, it's just trying to my biggest thing is Elizondo said it too. Lou Elizondo is.
Yes.
The goal is really not so much disclosing anything, which I really don't have anything too much to disclose that not anybody else is privy to, but it's really just to keep the conversation going,
yes,
to keep people asking questions. And they should be questioning, like organizations like TTSA ask the questions. And, my biggest thing is don't get to the point where you look at something and you just dismiss it.
Right.
You just say, well, this is bunk. That happens. People do that, and they say, well, the Tic Tac, for instance, the UFO, they'll say, well, that's definitely not ours and it's alien tech. When you do that, you've reached a conclusion before you have really any data. And it fuzzes up what it could actually be. It actually could be something that we don't know. I tend to say no. I think it's something that's paranormal. I think that it's whether it's aliens or it's interdimensional or someplace else. I don't know. But the thing is to keep that conversation going. Be kind to each other. Listen to each other. And, keep the topic relevant, keep asking, keep drilling, asking your Congress people, or in Canada here, your MPs, as much of a quack as you might sound, eventually you will break through.
Yes, you do. And, I don't ever really mind wearing that quack hat. I was privy to information coming out of the South American research labs back in the 80s when I worked for a cancer organization. And the things that we use nowadays as standard practice with varying cancers was written off as quackery and reported as such. So, that was something that I really found fascinating. And from that point on, my whole attitude changed because I knew that these people were actually doing testing here with the things that they were writing off. And people were being touched by that. So I'm never bashful about wearing a quack hat anymore.
No, it actually kind of it signifies that, hey, you know what? I've been kind of ostracized because of my open-mindedness.
Yeah.
So you wear that hat, and it's true. It's we're in strange times, and nobody can deny that. And the only way that it's going to get people through this is keeping an open mind and sticking together, and don't shut each other down. Just you listen, and not everything you hear is the reason or the truth, but everything's going to add up. There's no one winner in this. The only way we're going to find things out is collectively sharing information. And even like as far as the phenomenon goes, one way we find out is look for commonalities. What's happening all the time? Why is it happening this? Why does it happen here more than there? Why is it? What is it doing? Is it always jamming radar? Is it? Why is it doing this? Why did two people that witness the same event see different things? Is there a reason behind that? Is part of the reason that it may be for some reason it's getting us to question each other. Maybe, who knows? But you have to, again, listen to each other and keep the conversation open, because when you shut it down, we end up where we were 70 years ago. Just nothing's, there's the sky, there's the birds, there's the earth, there's no such things as ghosts, and there's not this and there's not that, and Earth's pretty boring.
Well,
there's a lot more.
There is a lot more, and I find that just to be a blessing, truly. But we have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
What do you think of Area 51?
Well, it's been there for, believe it was created in the 50s to test, like the latest Army or the latest Air Force hardware, and you wanted to keep that away from the Russians. And so they got this big piece of land and cordoned it off, and that's what they did. Now, I think it's a possibility that part of that was used to... It's funny that it was just 1947 was Roswell, okay?
Yes.
So 1947, they created the Air Force, basically the entity called the Air Force. 1947, they, what else? They created, I believe, the CIA. They did.
Indeed.
Just months after Roswell, okay? So, and then, they wanted to, all of a sudden it became necessary to have this we're going to need a lot of land because for some reason, so in 50s, and I believe it was the early 50s when they created Area 51, and I think it could be connected to things like Roswell. It's, you stumble onto something that is, generations, if not more, ahead in technology. You're going to test it, and you're going to study it where nobody is.
Well, you're right. And on top of that, we went from, the dirigibles and the Wright brothers to, fighting wartime planes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went fairly quickly to jets. We went from horse and buggies to Model Ts to
Mm-hmm.
those beautiful beasts of the 40s and 50s, to Teslas.
Absolutely. That's a jump if you think about it. Eh?
Huge jump.
Yeah.
Nothing else had jumped like that.
No.
In the whole time that there have been humans walking the earth. So, it's just really fascinating to me that people blow this stuff off, and I'm like, have you looked around you? I mean,
Absolutely.
we didn't have the correct materials for the Concorde because the wings wound up breaking. The structure wasn't strong enough for the power of the Concorde. So, we're actually beyond our abilities in some things. So, what do you think about Lazar?
This this is another polarizing topic that everyone, they either love the guy or hate him. It's almost, it's just like Lazar and Trump. Sorry, but it's true. They as soon as they start talking about him, they shut each other down. Actually, I believe him.
I believe him too.
Yeah.
I don't see why he would lie.
I don't see a reason for the lying. Again, I'm going with, actually, I've talked to him briefly.
I have not had that opportunity.
Well, mine was just basically I ordered something from his company, which is United Nuclear. Awesome company. I'll give them a little plug. I think they're in Oregon now. I'm not sure, but they sell all kinds of really great scientific stuff, magnets and lasers and everything. It's just a great company. It really is for people that are into science, but also for young kids and that, that are getting into it. But anyways, no, he, my gut feeling, I saw him back when he first, this was back in the 80s, and my mother saw him on TV, and I watched it, and it was riveting. This isn't a man that's lying to me, not at all. I don't care I respect Stanton Friedman, and I think he's done so much for the topic as well. But right away, he dismissed Lazar, and I understand the reasons, but he totally dismissed him, and I don't believe in doing that. I just will not. I always keep a little bit of a, and Lazar, there's a lot of things he said that has come true and come to pass.
What's the first one that sticks out in your head?
The first one is basically the discovery of the element 115.
Mm-hmm.
A stable 115, and is just him describing how an antimatter reactor works, and it makes sense when he describes it. He's either the best, most accomplished CIA 100% model of a liar that there ever was in planet Earth, or he's telling the truth. Right? He's that's what really sticks out to me with, and the tests, the Wednesday night tests. He took reporters there, he took friends, and said, "Look, this thing's going to shoot up in the sky. It's going to dance around, and you can film it. And it's going to be Wednesday nights at 8:00." And sure enough, Wednesday nights at 8:00, they filmed it. Right? So he predicted that. He knew that. George Knapp took him around Los Alamos labs, and he knew his way, like you said, like a rat going through a maze.
Right.
He knew his way through that. He knew his burrow there, and people recognized him. But I really believe that they didn't think that he was going to do what he was going to do, and I think they tried their best to erase that guy's past.
They were pretty effective.
With
very few exceptions.
Yeah. They have, you figure that they must have a lot of control over a lot of things, eh? So, and that's big information, and I think there's some that guard that with, you don't want to mess around with that. I think if you're into that, and you're into that, like I said, with an NDA, and I guess, well, he must have signed all that too. I wouldn't have. The only way I would have come forward if I was him is the reason he did. He thought his life was in danger, and that's why he came forward. Because of to protect himself. But I think he's legit. I really do.
I kind of do too. I just think so. I just feel that there was way too much effort to discredit him for him not to be having something that scared people.
Yeah.
With his information.
Otherwise they just say, he's just a quack. Just let him go spout off or whatever. But I've been on Twitter, and I remember there's been a few times, but I remember one time putting a thing about Lazar there, and someone just saying, "Why don't you shut your mouth, Carl?" Like something like that, something real, because it makes people mad sometimes because for various reasons, right?
Yeah, but we've got to take a break, believe it or not. And I know, right? We will be right back. Thank y'all for being here, and you come right back too with Carl Anderson.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Paratalk Radio is your one-stop for all things paranormal, the unknown, and the supernatural. Join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for discussions and guests on topics such as ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. This broadcast is rated M for mature and intended for listeners over 16 on paratalkradio.com.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio. I'm so glad you're here. We are the online voice of Fate Magazine, and I'm thrilled about that. That's my favorite magazine, and I'm so honored to be part of this group of people. Tonight, I am joined by Carl Anderson. We met on UFO Twitter. He is someone I respect greatly. We have been just chatting away, and we have a couple of things. One is, do you think disclosure is actually going to happen? Publicly.
I'm going to quote someone, and not to be I called myself a TTSA fanboy, but I'm going to quote Luis Elizondo, and he said, and I agree totally, disclosure is really not an event. It's a process. We are going through it now. And actually, disclosure actually has been happening, but we're getting more of we're looking for more confirmation And it's not going to be just one day. I think even if an official stood up and said, well, you know what, this is what it is, I think people are still going to say, well, they're crazy. There's this or that. But again, you have to look at the Pentagon has just said, we have things in our airspace that are interacting with our Navy pilots. They are unidentified. That's a big, big statement if you really think about it.
That is a big statement.
It's huge. It's your government telling you that is not ours. And they can say what they want about, it's us testing our own hardware against our own men and women, which is, if that were ever found out, there'd be a lot of accountability to. So I doubt highly that that's the case. I think you're getting disclosure. It is kind of a bit of a drip feed, yeah, but we've had some big events, and the Pentagon coming ahead like that's a pretty big event. And actually, the president has been briefed on it. They wouldn't just brief him if it wasn't legitimate. So I think that you're getting disclosure as a process, and yes. I think it's being done right. I really do. I think has to be done responsibly, and we just can't. And believe me, I'm not privy to any information at all, but I really believe the responsible way is it has to come with a narrative. It has to come with information for people. But there's more to come. I'm sure there's way more to come. I think you'll be pleased in the long run.
Well, I was sitting there thinking, we live in a post-disclosure world, because when they shut down Project Blue Book, there were still I can't remember the number. I should have written that down, but I didn't expect it. There was something like 761 maybe cases that they could not explain away.
Mm-hmm.
So they had, those were UFOs, unexplained flying objects. Okay, so they didn't bill that. Is that way? They cleared 1,400 cases, but there were so many that they didn't. And nobody ever considers that, saying, yep, they're UFOs. So
there's part, you're right, Kat. That's partial disclosure right there, and you have to look at those numbers.
People ignored that.
They do, and those numbers are actually very, very, very conservative, because Project Blue Book didn't have disclosing everything for the public's better at heart. It was basically, even Hynek said it. It was created much like Project Grudge to explain things away, to get the public gaze away from this subject. Mm-hmm. It needs to, and that's, we just have to absorb it. We have to keep on it and keep asking questions, demand answers from government, and just don't let it go. We've gone down that for 70 years. Well, there's nothing. We tried. We got our best. We got the Air Force to investigate it. That's a fox in the hen house. There's no way. You know what? Now we've got the internet. Now it's us.
Yes, and we're doing it.
Yes, we're doing it, and it's moving, because it's in the news now. It's even here in Canada. It's starting to get in the news quite a bit, and you're seeing where they can't ignore it. And there's that tipping point. And then it'll be not cool to cover it up anymore. In fact, it'll be a liability to keep it secret. And that's where we're going to get the big tipping point, where people are going to really, really say, hey, you know what? This is real, and everyone's going to be talking about it.
Well, it is a liability. It's already a liability. And, Shelley in chat says, keep demanding, then you end up on the CIA and FBI watch list. And I actually, I'm sure I'm on some.
Yeah, we always look at that too. I mean, I think that attitude, honestly, I don't really know. But I think that they kind of want to, I don't think they want to be left holding this great big ball of goop. They want to kind of let it out. You know what? Yeah, that's why. That's why you got guys like Jim Semivan. I think he's had some experiences himself. I think they want to get it out, but you don't want to destroy people by doing it.
No, you don't.
You know, there's people that back in the wartime, they had to make decisions to protect, again, national security. We just come out of the Second World War, and all of a sudden, if it happened, Roswell, a bloody flying saucer lands and crashes or does whatever it does, and you've got all this tech and everything, and you release a newspaper and it says, yeah, we found a flying saucer, and then your generals, your president looks at it and says, well, I don't think we should say this, and then they retract it.
Within 12 hours.
Yep, and cover it all up, and once they cover it up, you're not to talk about it because, again, people were terrified in World War II.
Yes.
And we were so glad when we defeated Hitler and he was going to take over the world. So people, that's national security on the biggest level.
Yes, it is.
And they had what they did. I believe it. I really do. I think there's a lot of great people, and I know I'm going to be hated for this too. I think there's a lot of great people in the CIA. I think there's a lot of great people at the Pentagon. I think they could be your aunts and uncles. They could be your dad. They could be your son, your daughter, working there. You can't blanket hate them, right?
You can't blanket hate any group, and yet, as humanity, we seem to be excellent at doing that.
Yes, it's so easy. It's the easy way out. Defining the good, that takes effort, right?
It does.
And it takes reflection.
And being the good.
Exactly, and being actually living that way. Because once you admit that you're not perfect, and you're admitting you can change yourself, right?
Right. And you can, that's my I always close with something relevant to that, so we'll wait because I don't need to be on that soapbox twice in one show. But I am so surprised. We actually have questions here about your demonic experiences. Are you comfortable with talking about that?
Sure, absolutely. Well, basically it was one, and it started when I would say, I don't know my exact age then. I guess it would be 9, 10, somewhere in around there. I knew this kid on my street. He was really intelligent. He was into, believe it or not, cuneiform and Egyptology and electronics. Wow. And oh yeah, and I love science too, and fossils and all that kind of thing. But he was also into the paranormal, right? And kids are interested in that, right? What is that, Well, one night I was slated to have a sleepover at his place. So I remember we, just goofing around, looking at books and things like that, and he decided to have a seance. So we had there was me, him, his sister, and his brother. And we put the lights down and we lit a candle, and we had this seance, and he said some things out of a little, I don't know if he had them written down or they're out of a book. It's so long ago. But nothing happened. The table didn't fly around the room. Nothing happened. But about a half an hour after that, I got so ill. And I just wanted to go home, 9 years old or whatever. I just wanted my mom.
Right.
So he wanted me to stay, but I just decided, I ended up walking home. I remember walking home and not even putting my shoes on. So I had my pajamas on, bare feet or socks, and walked up the street. It was only about a minute walk. I went to bed, and I was down with pneumonia for about, I guess, it was probably a week, with horrible, horrible nightmares. And so, terrible lucid dreaming of different things and monsters and things like that, all kinds of things that would scare the hell out of a kid. And from then on, these dreams persisted, and what it worked into was this child, I said a child demon, would catch up to me, almost catch me in my dreams, and he had a bunch of followers, and they would chant his name, and then they kept saying something. I made it out eventually, and but I couldn't hear it clearly. And what happened was, I remember in one of my dreams, I asked the people in the dream, I said, "Who is that?" And they said, "Don't you know him? His name's Iritum." And I didn't know. Like, a kid, what's he going to know about that? I never thought anything about that. And when I was in my 40s, I looked it up, and that's the actual name of a demon. So, but that actual demon, as time went on, I got so frustrated with it. In one dream, I was crying, and I reached out my hands, and these purple sparks come out of my hand, and I vaporized him and his whole following. And it was so brutal. And what had happened was, I didn't tell you the end of that dream. When that happened, I was crying. I was leaning on a rock, and my arms were wrapped around someone's ankles. Okay, so if you can envision that, someone was standing on a boulder, and my arms were wrapped around their ankles. And I looked up, and it was Jesus. And he looked down.
Tell me that.
No, I didn't tell you that, because that's just the end of that dream. So I couldn't believe it. It was so real. And I looked down, he just looked and smiled at me. And then that dream, that it kind of went away. Like it was almost like a defeating, I don't know, thing. I don't know why that happened like that. But that was one. Another time, after a few years, this same demon come back, and that one ended up, he was chasing me up a ladder, and I tore him limb from limb with my bare hands in the dream. And I think what it is it was my own self coming to terms with things. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah, and I told you about when I was 12, I started to get really bitter, and like I was really, really atheistic. Just an atheist through and through, to where I thought, like maybe the devil's better than God and all this stuff, and just bitter and mad, right? And then I had another dream where this guy showed up, a very genteel sort of man, bald guy, and he named himself, and he said, "Do you know who I am?" And I said, "No, I don't." And I was crying again in the dream. He said, "I've been with you since, and my name's Iritum." And I said, "No way." And he said, "Yes, I was there for you when you needed. This hasn't been about," I don't know what the exact words were, but the premise of it was, when you needed to change, you were given what you needed to change. And I couldn't believe it. Like, it just that changed me as a person. It really did. It just, I never forgot it, And like I said, I never thought, I never gave it that much credibility, other than that it changed me. But when I looked up the name, it freaked me out, because, that name was never familiar to me. And I looked it up, and it's a demon of nothingness, of hopelessness. But if you look it up in the Catholic, there's a list of demons.
Right.
And it presented itself as something pretty bad. It just, and on another part of that incident too, that and I know this sounds like, well, he's making it up as he goes along, but there's so much to it that no.
Well, those are not simple experiences.
No, I was in my bedroom. This is around a little while after that happened, when I got sick. And I, when the older houses, the top the top story, the ceiling will slope to kind of conform.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I looked up, and there was a gray face appeared on the slope of the ceiling. And when I saw it, I knew it was really, really a nasty, nasty, horrible face. And it just, to me, symbolized everything that's crappy in the world. That kind of a feeling. Just this is not good, kind of. This is, wouldn't say it was evil. I just thought hopelessness and just anger and everything was in this face. And then all of a sudden, I heard a scream, and it was like it was inside my head. And then it freaked me out, so I ran outside, and I looked down the street, and a bunch of people were gathered on this porch. It was my friend's porch. And so I put my shoes on, went down the street, and his mother was out on the porch, and they were kind of consoling her, and I said, "What's going on?" She goes, "Well, her name was Hussar. They were Hungarian. She said she saw the devil."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that was right around that same time. That was all, like, there was really a lot of kind of, I just think that when I look back on it, again, maybe it had something to do with the seance, like maybe something did come through, but in the end, it actually benefited me. I hate to say, because she was terrified.
Right.
And at times I was too. I was pretty scared, but it did benefit me in the end, and it identified itself as something for me. So that's what blew me away.
No doubt. That's a little freaky.
Yeah, and when I was 20, I had an out-of-body experience.
How was that?
Well, what happened there was I was living in Toronto in the first house. I guess I'd be about 20. I fell asleep, and I went into this dream, like a lucid dream once again. And I dreamt I was on a hilltop, and I was looking down at a road, and the road was windy like a highway. And I'm looking down, and I could see a white van, and it had a few people in it, but from a distance, right? And I saw this mist in the middle of the road. And I thought, gee, that van's going right into that mist. But the mist turned into that face. Remember I told you the face that I saw? This great big gray, really...
the gray one.
Yeah, it turned into that. And when the van hit that, where the face was, it was such a loud, almost like somebody put a firecracker in your ear and made a loud crack, right? And I'm still sleeping, mind you, okay? And when that crack happened, I felt very, very light. And all of a sudden, I was looking at myself because I sleep on my tummy, with my arms out, and I looked at myself, and I was just inches above myself. And then, here's where it gets kind of crazy. I started floating up, and I thought, what is going on here? And I thought, what an amazing feeling. Okay, this is a craziness, because people think it's weird, but it was almost orgasmic, the feeling, okay?
That is kind of weird. I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you because we're going to take this last break, and I feel like we're going to need our focus on this. So we will be right back, y'all. Y'all come back.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the World Wide Web of Weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. And we're back for our final segment here on Fate Mag Radio with my guest, Carl Anderson. And Carl, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. But,
that's all.
Go ahead and tell us your conclusion. I'm so sorry.
Well, I'll get right to the point of that one. Basically, I floated up towards what like the ceiling, and I actually got a vision of the ceiling becoming very opaque. And I got the feeling that I could fly away if I wanted to. But I thought, and this is crazy, but I thought I'm going to look around the room and I'm going to see, because this is so real that I want to prove it. And I had a barrel full of different fishing rods, and I remembered what their configuration was, and I remembered where things were on my little nightstand. And I just thought, I'm worried if I go. And then all of a sudden I woke up.
Right.
And then the way I turned the lights on and everything, and everything was where I saw it from above. So that told me something right there.
That's fairly... I can see that. Because you wouldn't have really been attentive to those details when you went to bed. Right?
Yeah, well, actually, when I saw that was when I was actually experiencing, and I just looked around and experienced that, and that's what I mean. It was so, I thought, it's like, someone goes and gets abducted, well, grab a tool from their shelf or something, right? They say that, but, it's probably a whole different reality, but I knew that I knew what happened to me happened, so that was kind of different.
Well, we have two questions relevant to this. April wants to know, did you ever get rid of this from harassing your dreams?
I think it's a state of mind you choose. If you choose to feed into something that's really negative, and bad things happen in life. Doesn't mean you walk around, it's got to make positive, right? But if you feed into negativity and dark feelings, or that's when these things start to happen, and it's almost like to wake you up. I really believe that, and I don't think it ever really left. It's always with you. It's just waiting there, and it's for you. I really believe a lot of it's for you.
I think that you're right. I think sometimes people are more welcoming to those experiences than others. And I think that the reason for that is because it's a way for you to grow. Like Sherry wanted to know if you had any psychic or empath abilities, and I don't know. What do you think?
I've had a few little incidents. I was telling you, Kat, about I had a dog chew toy was sitting on a CD stand, and I was watching TV, And I looked over at it, and I don't know, I just thought, well, kind of like, what if, kind of a thought, and it flew off the stand and landed on right at my feet. But I can't, it's so random that, it's not Zoe, I'll look at this and I'm going to make it move. Right. It's something random that happens. And I think it's just something telling you, there's more to life and what you think life is than what you see.
I would agree with that.
It's a little bait to just keep you there and keep you growing, to keep you asking questions, to keep you, appreciative too of what you have and to not feel, to kind of look around the world and look at other people, see how they're coping with things. And, you might find that you may not have it as bad as others. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's something that it's there. I really believe that a lot of it is there for you. So positive thoughts, and take the time to look at people and listen to people. And I think if there is something that's bothering you, seems to be haunting, you'll see when it'll subside when you start to learn that lesson. Because
I will agree with that.
Yeah, you need to learn.
Because it's there while you need it.
Exactly.
And either you evolve to the next thing or things get right back to normal.
Yeah.
There's not really in between, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's I believe you're on a soul journey, and you maybe, I don't know about reincarnation, but I really believe their soul it's got to live the experiences. It's got to live the darkness. It's got to live the light. It's got to realize the light. It's got to see, and that's the only way you learn is not just by being told. You have to live it. And sometimes it's not easy.
Well, I am always one for believing that everything happens, good, bad, or indifferent, the way that it's supposed to. Because everything that happens is a learning experience. And as an adolescent, I actually went through some relatively exciting times. And I would have preferred not to. But you just never know. Everybody has to develop. And as an adult, I was able to take those and kind of know the kind of person I did not want to be. So it aided me in sticking with being who I did want to be. Much better.
Exactly.
Much better.
And if you could look back, or looking back on it now, if you were to ask yourself, well, I would rather, I'm sure you would rather not have gone through some experiences, but given the person that you are now, were the lessons worth it? I'll ask you that.
Some were.
Yeah.
Some I could have done without, regardless of the outcome. So, but again, you just try to acknowledge that everything happens the way it's supposed to. There was a lesson in there somewhere, and it might not have been mine. So I do believe that what is truly us inside doesn't die. I believe that we're energy beings, and that energy doesn't dissipate. It doesn't die. So I just think that life is interesting, and I kind of just hang on through the ride and just try to do the best I can. I find it interesting because you and I are pretty close to the exact same age. And it's interesting that our communication, I feel like, the fact that we do communicate was, out of all the people in the discussions that we have, I think that it's because we're very similar in a lot of ways.
More than likely, yeah.
So, I appreciate you sharing. April says thanks for sharing those things because they're not easy.
You're welcome. Yeah. You're very welcome. It's a lesson, and I appreciate the questions. I have a whole bunch myself. So,
but you're seeking, right? That's what we do. We seek.
And that's what makes it great, isn't it? It's the learning. It's the learning and realizing that, man, and you'd think that, you go through 50, 60 years of living that, it's going to get more and more figured out. No, it's the opposite. It's
There's so many more questions now, right?
Yeah, and now I realize now that it's a big universe. It's and it's all, I believe it's all connected. We're connected to it.
And I agree, like you. I believe that everything paranormal is related. I believe that UFO, UAP is connected. Well, certainly alien beings are connected to paranormal entities and cryptid energies, and the list goes on. So I'm excited when I see research and discussion on these topics, because it means that we're coming together.
Exactly.
And it's so important to do that. It's the only way we're going to get answers.
Exactly. And it is a big question, and people have to keep asking, with the present things that are going on, and with UFOs even, like TTSA and that, don't buy everything that they're selling either. Ask the questions there, because we don't know, and don't feel bad about questioning. You don't have to be insulting. No one should be insulting. Put the questions to them. Absolutely. You have that right to ask the questions, and you have the right to be suspicious too,
because there are so many. Everybody except Tom DeLonge is retired government.
Yes, absolutely.
High-level retired government.
Yes.
We're talking
absolutely.
Serious clearances. And, Lou ran the ATIP. There's alien phenomenon out there. Get out and find it. That was his job.
Yeah, so you figure the clearances that are involved in that.
Well, Christopher. Chris is clear. Every single one of them, everyone was a high-level government official. Mm-hmm. It would be not unlikely to consider that they may still be.
They could be.
So you just have to kind of take it. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying that possibility exists, and there's a lot of people that don't trust because of that.
Yeah,
I personally, I want to believe. I do believe, and like I said, I feel like we already live in a post-disclosure world. So, I had the chance to put that on a friend's Twitter feed who asked if what we would look like in a post-disclosure world, and I said, "Well, look around you. You're there."
Exactly. That's what I said.
It was great. I loved it.
That's awesome, yeah.
Because she is a serious ufologist, and it was just fun.
Yeah, just look around you. And you know what? It's crazy because, you show people, they'll show them the New York Times headline, Pentagon admits UFOs are real. Oh, look at that. Did you see that ad for butter there? There it is. Just nobody.
I don't get that, right? It's exciting. It's a big deal.
Oh, it's huge.
Enjoy it.
Change humanity, and then they're looking at what Kanye said, right?
Yeah.
It's just
yep. I swear to goodness, there are so many people that I feel like are, public relations plants, right? But we are just going to have to wrap this up. I can't believe our time is already up, and you thought that it was going to be forever.
Well, I was. You actually thought, no, man, how the heck are you going to fill that up? I could go on, as you probably hear right now, and on and on and on. And there's so much more that about these things that I, could say, but there's just not enough time.
There's not. We'll have to do this again.
Absolutely.
So we'll just keep bouncing back and forth between shows until we run out of conversation. I'm good with that.
Get that guy off of there. That's all. I got big shoulders.
That's a good deal.
Can't be in this thing without taking some hits and criticism, and that's fine. Just keep an open mind. That's it.
That's right. But not so open that your brain falls out.
No.
That being said, thank you so much to our listeners. Y'all are the whole reason that we do these things, and I appreciate every single one of you. And, Carl, I've had such a great time. This has been just fantastic. I am so glad you came, and I'm looking forward to doing this again.
Thank you very much, and Kat, for having me on, and thanks, to all the listeners out there, and thanks for hearing what I had to say, and again, keep asking the questions, and I just appreciate you having me on. Really do.
Well, to a T, we're getting, great show. Thank you. Great show. Yes, thank you. So, they loved you. And I know, right? So, I'm going to say, because we're out, got to be out, but be the change. If you don't like what you're seeing, change it. Manifest it. Put your energy into what you want to see. You don't have to be buying into the violence. You don't have to be buying into the anger at the violence. You don't have to be distracted by, the man behind the curtain. All you have to do is just be the best you that you can be. Be the best spouse, the best friend, the best you, and make those changes. You rock. Rock your world. You've got it. Good night.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.